Kyle Branch from Chaparral Motorsports here with Michael Lindsay, and today we're going to be talking about the differences between the 2019 and 2020 KTM 450 SXF. Now, Michael, what are some of the big things that people are going to notice different between 19 and 20?
So it's always interesting with the KTM because you not only have your 19, your individual model years, you also have your factory edition bike. So from the 19 to the 20 bike, yeah, there's a decent amount of changes, but from the factory edition also kind of settled in the middle on some of those changes. So what KTM's been working on really hard is a bit of fork comfort. They are them and the Husqvarna are the only two with an air fork left. They're what they used to call their AER 48 fork. It's now called the Exact XACT, and a few people go, oh, so it's an all new fork or shock. It's just a new naming culture for them for their motocross product. It really is. So all the moto product or dirt product is looped under Exact. You have a difference for the street side, so that's just kind of some new naming culture. It's still basically the same basic component they've been using. When they updated their frame 2 years ago, they lost a little bit of comfort up at the head stay area of the chassis. They kind of stiffened that, and it kind of gave up some of the comfort, or kind of gave up how they were balancing out the air fork, because when the air forks were on a lot of the air bikes, people complained about the initial feel and the initial comfort and vagueness. The KTM always got away from it because the steel and chromoly frame flexed enough, it gave the front end a much different feel on this bike. When they changed the frame, though, kind of gave away some of that comfort. So they've been working really hard to get the air fork up to a little bit up to snuff again, trying to keep consumers happy with it and good with it. It's similar to like a mountain bike fork. You have all your damping held on one side, all your air on the other side, which acts as your spring force. This one's actually really unique in the fact that both chambers are separate, but they're not always. So you fill the main bleed up top, and if the bike is sitting on the stand at 150 PSI or say like 10.1 bar, like they like to go off their measurements, both chambers get filled to that, because when the fork is fully extended, there's a little bleed on, I believe it's the damping rod that allows it to go to the negative chamber. And then when the fork compresses, they become separate. With having that bleed, every time you go off a jump on the track, anytime the front wheel fully lifts off the ground for that split second, both chambers balance themselves automatically. So the volumes can be different on them, and they continue to self-regulate themselves. So it gives that fork definitely an advantage over other air forks. But getting back to that, one of the changes really for this is they have been working on kind of the leaf bending shim that's on the damping rod. It used to have more of a rigid support on the valve. They've kind of done a relief there, so that first flex shim will fold easier, and what that relates to on the track is they're trying to get it where it settles a little bit easier. It doesn't the fork doesn't have as much tension, because an air fork typically will easily top out, feel like it's pushed all the way on the stroke, and when you hit little bumps, it doesn't feel like it wants to settle as much. With that change, they've gone the front of this bike to settle down a little bit more and move through the first part of the stroke easier. Another really big change for them, it seems minor, but it's something they're working hard on, is the mapping of the bike. I kind of talked about this in the Yamaha video we did, but you have the physical weight of a bike and you have the acting weight of the bike. Yes, the KTM is the lightest 450 in the class by quite a bit. Full of fuel, it is 14 pounds lighter than the heaviest bike in this shootout. It's a big physical weight difference, but what's interesting is you don't always notice it the same. And I do say this is a little bit guilty of doing testing on West Coast. West Coast tracks are a little bit harder base. We roll more through our sections. We don't physically move the bikes around as much, say if you're a back east guy in the deep sand. When you're in a deep sand, you're physically pulling on the bike. The physical lack of weight on this bike is noticeable. On West Coast, when you're rolling, it's more about the balance of the bike and how it makes it feel weight-wise. So a negative the KTM has had the last 2 years is they went to this really mellow power. It doesn't pick up very fast. It kind of feels more like honestly like their 350. It doesn't feel like any other 450 in class. It still has huge amount of output on the dyno, but it revs kind of slowly and it just rolls on instead of snapping to life. Well, the problem with that roll character is when you're coming to a corner and you kind of want to flip the throttle and wheelie over some braking bumps, or you want to make the bike react into the face of a jump just through throttle input, where it doesn't pop to life, the bike kind of won't always do at least what I want it to by throttle position. So I end up having to physically pull on the bike. So the lack of motor response actually can make the bike feel heavier than it really is. So they were working on the initial connection of this bike, still trying to keep that easy to ride character because it does translate into great lap times, but they're trying to kind of settle more in the middle for people that want more response, more connection feel to the throttle. Another big thing they did is this bike actually comes with optional airbox lids on the side we're standing on, but KTM's always had the side panel that pops off on the side that's been solid. Their airbox is really sealed up. which means at low RPMs, when the motor is basically acting as a vacuum, it struggles to pull in air quickly to replace what it's burning, and it's part of the reason why the motor revs slow. They do these big perforated optional panels on the bike. Actually, so people can see, you can pop one of these off. So normally the standard one that comes on the bike off the showroom floor is completely flat here. There's no holes. This will be in the parts that are given to you by the dealership, you know, with your air fork pump and all your stuff, are these perforated panels. This is it's just optional. You can throw it on. This changes a bit of the motor character, and it's something that's fun with the KTM is you have 2 maps on the bike. You have map 1 and 2. Map 1 is your mellow, map 2 is your more aggressive hit. And then the Airbox also changes that. So if you're down for really, really mellow power, run the standard Airbox lid in map 1. You can try map 2 for a little bit more power. And then if you want a motor that feels like it revs more, throw on this panel, and you can still try map 1 or 2. So it kind of gives you 4 different power character options to play with. The KTM also has what they dub traction control. It's not the same as what you see in cars or street bikes because it's not wheel sensitive. It's based off a crank sensor, and basically wheel sense is if you're rolling out of a corner and you're between 1% and 50% throttle opening, and it senses a really high RPM spike, it will start cutting back on the mapping to reduce power because the bike is thinking, oh, if my rider is at low throttle position and the RPM spikes really fast, it thinks this tire has spun, so it'll restrict the power. Me personally, for my riding style, I never really find use for it, but I actually find a lot of guys that do like it when they're riding in slick, nasty conditions to be able to put it in the most mellow mode, throw the traction control on, and it just makes the bike so manageable. Like I said, we talked a lot about that motor character. Definitely for the more aggressive riders, more of your intermediate to pro level riders, they struggle a little bit with that power output and the way it comes on. They feel that it's boring, not exciting. But definitely for a vet level rider, a beginner level rider, it's really good because it doesn't really get away from you like most 450s. You can kind of mess up and grab a handful, and yeah, it'll respond, but it won't try to yank you off the back as much because of that RPM build. So it's definitely an option there. What makes it weird though for Shootout is I kind of joke that the bike has a split character. It has this really mellow motor, but chassis suspension setup wise is very aggressive. It definitely leans more towards a high intermediate to a professional level, like a local expert level rider. It's very held up in the stroke. It maintains well balanced, but it's just very aggressive. It doesn't sink into corners very easily. It doesn't settle in when you're just cruising around. It wants to be thrown into obstacles. It wants to be thrown into a rut or a berm very aggressively. So it depends. Like some guys will look at, well, if the motor's easy to ride, I can ride hard and throw it into something, which I think works for a certain degree of riders, but some find that the motor character doesn't match the chassis character as much. Definitely, like I said, the changes are minor. It's been mostly suspension updates, ECU updates, the optional Airbox lid. Really, what I would do upgrade-wise to the bike if you decide to go out and get one, pipe definitely makes a little bit of a difference on the power characteristic of this bike. Big one for me on comfort is the stock bars are very rigid. The stock KTM bar doesn't offer a lot of flex. And even the top triple clamps. Triple clamps are pretty rigid on this bike. The factory edition had KTM's power parts clamp on it. That was a really big difference in front end character. I've tried it on this production chassis and it's a big difference. That's actually an OEM KTM part, so you can walk into Chaparral and buy it. I bet it's probably even on the website. It's one of KTM's power parts. It's in their catalog. It's not actually an aftermarket. It's something sold by KTM. But if it comes down to the split decision between this bike and a 19, that's a tough one. KTMs usually don't have a lot of rebates, so it's usually not that much advantageous to go for the older model. But the changes are minor. I would say for somebody that looks, once again, for more of that aggressive motor character, more of that connection feel, will appreciate what's done with the electronics on this bike. But at the same time, the fork's more comfortable. It's all minor changes, but when they all come together, it's definitely a little bit of a lasting impression.
And there you have it, the difference between 2019 and the 2020 KTM 450 SXF. If you wanted to learn more about the other bikes here in the lineup, please take a look at the playlist at the top of the link below, and you will find all of those bikes ready for you to peruse. If you like this video today, please give it a thumbs up. If you want more action like this coming directly to your inbox, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be part of the notification squad. I'm Kyle Bradshaw. Thanks for watching. This is Michael Lindsay. Until next time, take care and ride safe out there.